Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, June 15th, 2026. So we start this episode at the Quartermains. We're gonna be by the lake all summer, I'm seeing. So we start this episode at the Quartermains down by the boathouse, and Geo is there, and Emma comes up, and he's out there with Phoebe, and um, then he has to go back in to go get a bottle for Phoebe, and he leaves Emma out there with Phoebe. And Emma is not excited about being left out there with the baby because, some people don't do kids. And she says she do animals well, but, kids aren't necessarily her thing. But, he leaves her to go get the bottle, and then Phoebe does start crying. She tries to give her the binky. She spits the binky out, doing kid things. And so she puts her in the stroller, and she's like strolling her around, trying to get her to calm down, but she won't. And then Gio comes back, and, he's like, you were fine, whatever. And so they start talking, and she's talking about a former love interest and how he broke her heart. But she is glad, that she experienced that heartbreak because it lets her know when she met the real thing, i.e., Geo. So, yeah, they're in love. Everybody's in love. Meanwhile, Molly and Cody, they're about to go on a hike, but Alexis comes in the house and she's like, "Good thing you're here. Me and your dad want to speak to you." And she's like, "What you mean, me and your dad? What you mean, you and dad? Because if you know anything about Alexis and Rick, they mix like oil. They mix like oil and water. So hearing that they want to speak with you together is not necessarily comforting." So Molly is a little bit worried, and they're waiting for Rick to arrive. But then once Rick does finally arrive, they find out that Rick and Alexis are planning a book launch party for Molly. It was Rick's idea, but he didn't want to leave Alexis out. He wanted to have her input and everything. So they are working together to do this party. Meanwhile, Rick and Alexis going Rick and Alexis, and so he has like one way to throw a party, and she has another idea to throw the party, and their ideas couldn't be further from the part from apart from one another. And so then they're bickering back and forth. You can't do this, you can't do that. That's boring. You can be a school mom. It was just crazy. And then Molly and Cody, they go outside to because she's excited that her parents are working together because she didn't think that they would ever be able to agree anything or let alone plan a function together. And so, he was like, "Oh, your parents, do they got a thing going on?" I thought maybe like before he got serious with Liz, I was like, and before like they put him in the basement, I thought, are Alexis and Rick gonna fall back into a relationship? That would be interesting. Very interesting. I do not recommend, but it would be interesting. Then we have Lulu and Laura. They're at the Metro Court, and Lulu is working because that's all she can focus on right now is working since Rocco is missing. And so she's working and she's asking her mom, how does she feel that, Sidwell is wanted? And she was like, she would, like to see him brought to justice. Little does she know, your mama was being hemmed up by the man, and the man is hemmed up now because of your mama and Sonny and Lucas. But yeah, you know, Laura says what she got to say, and then they start talking about Rocco being missing, and she's still going with this narrative that Britt, who I don't care for one way or another, but Britt, the narrative that Britt gave Rocco a soft sense of comfort and made him feel like it was okay to run away with her. Okay, girl. tell your mama the truth. Your mama can handle it, especially since your mama got her own kind of situation going on with Sidwell herself. I'm just saying, tell your mama, tell Sonny, and let the grandparents work it out because they know what's up. I'm just saying, it's not a bad idea to get the grandparents, Sonny and Laura, involved in this particular situation. But I digress. Meanwhile, Nina is meeting with Nathan at the pool, Metro Court pool. She wants to know, when's the last time Jay has heard from Liesel, and so he gives her some. Oh yeah, the last time I saw her was, the other day when Britt took off, and she's like, yeah, but I have been to her room. She's not there. I had somebody let me in, I don't know what could be going on. And he's like, oh, your mom has probably gone to um look for Brit or whatever. And so, I mean, not your mom. My mom has probably gone to look for Brit. And so she's like, yeah, whatever. So she goes over to Carly's house because that ain't good enough for her. She needs to know definitively what is going on with Liesel. So she goes to Carly's house because she wants to ask Carly, can she get the camera footage from the Metro Court to make sure that her aunt wasn't taken? And so surprisingly, Carly does, because Carly is dealing with the situation of Jocelyn being missing. They went out to scope Windermere and they see that it's like roaring with WSB agents, so they can't really get on kind of good. And so she wants to go in there guns blazing. He's like, okay, so you go in there guns blazing, and then we get caught. Either Joss gets moved to another location, or worse, we gotta be strategic. And so then when Nina comes over, Carly helps her and Nina leaves. Um, Valentine is on his A game, and he's like, they found their scientists, knowing that they're using Liesel to do what Britt left and didn't finish. So it's getting real sticky and it's getting real good. I'm excited about, what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks, because we know that soon Jason is going to come back because Steve is back at work or whatever. So we know that this part of the story is probably wrapping up soon. So, and it's getting like the intensity and all of that is picking up. So I'm excited about that. Then we have Michael and BOQ. They walk in the house and they see Willow sitting in the chair, and Yuri is, helping Willow or whatever. And so they tell them what happened. And then, um, Brooklyn was like, well, what did you do? Because my grandmother just don't go off doing stuff to people. And she's like, she lured me here, blah blah blah. So Brooklyn goes to the police station and she is asking her husband what happened, and he tells her. And so she's like, I gotta go talk to my grandmother, and he's acting like he gonna go with her. Sir, no. So anyway, so she tells her that she knows that Willow is trying to get Chase, and that she's handling it on her own. And so she was like, you need to apologize because this is not making the situation better or whatever. But before she can go apologize, here comes Dante with Willow. And so Willow says she's not pressing charges because Michael talked to her and said it's not in the best interest of the kids, especially with how close Wiley is to Tracy and all of that. It's not what's good for the family, blah, blah, blah. So now she's the oh, so innocent Willow being the bigger person, according to Chase. This man, I don't see why you fighting for this man, Brooklyn. Let him go. Meanwhile, Justine was like, look, this could be another, because she sees that his eyes are clouded where Willow is concerned. So she's not necessarily believing everything Chase is saying either, or thinks that he's misinformed or disillusioned by Willow, which is true. But, quiet as it's kept, some things got to come out in the wash because people don't be listening. But yeah, it was kind of dry but kind of decent today. But that was General Hospital. We'll pick it up tomorrow. I think I am going to go live with General Hospital tomorrow. Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, June 16th, 2026. So we started this episode with Valentine and Carly, and yesterday he stated, they're too late for, because they got Liesl, they're too late to try and stop what's going on and whatnot. And, because basically the goal was to Jack, name him, frame Jack, and for Valentine to be able to go free. I need another mic. Hold on. And for Valentine to go free. However, at this juncture, that's not necessarily an option because this one was dying, sorry. That's not necessarily an option because they have Liesl to do the work. When they thought that Britt was gone, they thought they had a little bit of time because she's not there to finish the project. But now that she's gone and that they've taken Liesl, the situation and the stakes are different. So, they're basically going back and forth because Carly has caught feelings for Valentine now. And because she's caught feelings, she don't really want her man going to jail, but, or worse, getting killed. But he's like, yeah, this is the only way. Is either I go to jail or you save your daughter. And she gonna save her kid, rightfully so. So, this is what he has to do. So he asked, can you do me a favor? Can you bring Charlotte? And she's like, of course. And then they have one more night together, or afternoon, the light, whatever. They have one more time together. Valentine goes and lights up the candles in her room and she puts on her lingerie. And, and they have one more night. Then we have Jacinda and Michael. They're at the boathouse, and Michael is telling Jacinda about what happened with Willow and Tracy, and how Tracy was arrested. And they start talking about, Michael feels bad that they're doing this to Brooklyn, and she's not going to immediately see that he's doing her a favor, but this is the best thing for her. And although Michael does have ulterior motives with setting up Willow and Chase, he's not wrong in that either, because Brooklyn is trying to save something that can't be saved. And that's the problem and the disconnect that I'm having with Brooklyn. Like I said, this is the same situation that we had with Curtis and Jordan and Portia last summer. Curtis was having an emotional affair with Jordan, and Portia was seeing the signs. However, Portia handled it differently in that she was like, I'm not going to keep fighting this fight with you and this woman. So if that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. And that's when she basically gave him the ultimatum in her office that day last summer, when she told him, if you leave, and these were her exact words, if you walk out that door, I know our marriage is over. And he walked out the door. I don't think Curtis was counting on her standing on business, but because of the love and self-respect that Portia has for herself, she did in fact stand on business, admit exactly what she said. And boys are like buses, miss one, next 15, one coming. And it didn't even take 15 minutes and Isaiah came through the door. I don't have to like it, and I have my own thoughts on that. But at the end of the day, Portia meant business. And it's not even about her moving on to Isaiah. It's about her closing that door, because you're not going to continue to play in my face. And that's what Chase is doing. Because I can't even say that he is oblivious to what Willow is doing. Because at this point, it's blatant. It's just that he doesn't care. He wants to believe in poor Willow, and it is what it is, because even Tracy tells him about the text that she sent, and she tells him about the text that she sent, and he still doesn't see that the fact that Willow came running at the chance to spend time with him, and it's it is blatant at this point. So then, she basically tells her grandmother, Brooklyn basically tells her grandmother that she, believes what Chase is saying. And Tracy's like, whoa, this is crazy. Because it is crazy, because that I didn't do this. And so she also knows Brooklyn is lying, because she tells Michael that later, but she tells Brooklyn, if anybody else would have said that to me, I would evict them on the spot. But then she looks at Chase and said, I'm not going to lose my granddaughter because of this. And so she walks out. She's trying to let cooler heads prevail. But she's right, because this is ridiculous. And I think it's ridiculous of Brooklyn to see how much he thinks about Willow and considers Willow and thinks that this marriage is worth fighting for. That's crazy to me. But Tracy goes down to the boathouse and she's talking to Michael, and she's telling Michael, what happened. And, Michael's like, what? I thought we was going to let it play out, because she needed to see. She said, yeah, we did agree to that, but, and then she's like, Brooklyn's lying. And once you start lying, no good can come of that, because you don't stop. And we all know that Brooklyn has a plan or whatever, but the plan should stop, because at this point, you just need to cut your losses and walk away, because this ain't worth fighting for. He doesn't need He is not worth fighting for. You need to cut your losses, and if you need help with doing so, call Dr. Robinson and she can tell you how to do it, because that lady loved that man. She loved Curtis. However, she loves herself more, and she also has an example to set for her child, her 20 something year old child, and even her unborn one. That you don't take no BS off of people, and you don't have to deal with it and put up with it. And she walked out, and that was what was best for her. And I hope that she stay away from Curtis, because is anyway. So then we have Jack and Willow. She comes to tell them that they need more medicine for Drew, because Drew um was getting the medicine from Sidwell, and Sidwell is on the run now. So, she's like freaking out because Drew might, tell on her. And then, her mom comes and she tells them about the run in with Tracy, and Jack finds it funny or whatever, but he basically says he does have the evidence. I still don't believe him about Drew misappropriating funds, but they got to help him get out of bed quicker, because he's the only one that can access it. I don't believe Jack, but I digress. And then Cullum, he's still trying to figure out, where Sidwell is, what he was doing, who he was working with. He thinks he might have been working with Valentine. Then remember when Valentine called the hospital, pretending to be Kevin. Well, now he's traced the call, and now he's going back to look at Carly's house for Valentine. The walls are closing in. But yeah, that was GH for today. and I will see you guys tomorrow. Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, June 16th, 2026. So, we started this episode with Chase and Dante. Chase is down at the boathouse because I told you we're going to spend all summer at the boathouse. Chase is at the boathouse, and Dante comes down to speak to him. And he's asking him, do you think it was smart to arrest Tracy? Who are you protecting? Are you protecting your wife, or are you protecting are you protecting um Willow? And so they're having a conversation, and he's like, but Tracy is a bully, and he's like, yeah, but your first priority needs to be your wife, Brooklyn. And he mentioned, how he and Brooklyn grew up, so he's always going to look out for Brooklyn or whatever. And so he's like, yeah, you need to prioritize. But then Chase goes and he talks to Brooklyn, and he's still like, and we're so grateful for Willow. Like, I know that Willow used to be in cults, but I can see where Chase could easily be integrated into one, because he has drinking the Willow Kool-Aid, and it was good to him, and he not trying to come up off it. It's kind of crazy. Meanwhile, while he was down at the boathouse talking to Dante, Brooklyn is at in the kitchen with Tracy, and they're speaking. And Tracy is like, "Girl, you're doing too much. If you got to do," she said basically what I said. If you got to do all of that to keep a man, then he's not worth keeping. And she's trying to tell her granddaughter right, but then her granddaughter was like, "Oh, you're calling me weak? Yeah, I said you were weak. I said you were weak, because this is weak behavior that you're exhibiting right now." I just said that as soon as Portia realized, like, no, he really he like Chase wasn't, he's not, I don't know, because I don't give him a pass, just like I don't give Baldy a pass, but they were willing to take up for this interloper, because these people, Willow, Jordan, they were interloping in their marriage, and they took these interlopers and then made excuses for them, and they took up for them. And by doing that, you allowed the interloper in. As soon as Portia realized, okay, so you're going to keep doing it, when Jordan grabbed her hand, when Jordan grabbed Curtis's hand when Stella was arrested, and was like, "I'm gonna always be here," Portia walked off. He went in her office, and she laid it all out. Like, she wasn't holding anything back. She laid it all out. And he still tried to dismiss her. And she told him, "If you walk out the door, then I know our marriage is over." And she stood on that, because she's not going to disrespect herself by allowing you to disrespect her. And I respected Portia's decision. That's the way that Brooklyn should be handling this situation, because it's basically the same situation. She should be handling that situation with Chase like that, but she's not willing to, because she wants to make him. I don't want to have to make you see Willow for who she is. You should be able to see that yourself. And if I have to bend over backwards and compromise myself to make you see Willow for who she is, it's not even worth it. We don't even have a marriage to save. And basically that's what Tracy was trying to tell her, but she is adamant that she know how to take care of her business and all of that. So Tracy is allowing her to have that space to do so, even though Tracy knows that Chase is not up to any good, but she, doesn't want to lose her relationship with her granddaughter. So she told her, "I'm here for you if you need anything," because she gonna need her, because Chase is going to do something and it's going to be bad, and or what she has planned is going to backfire and push Chase over there with Willow. Either way, this isn't going to end well for Brooklyn. And I wish I could say I feel sorry for her, but she had too many opportunities to walk away, and I won't. Um, Meanwhile, Drew and Willow go to the hospital because he has a checkup with the neurologist. And when they come in, they see Danny and Scout. Scout jumped out the window because she was trying to play a prank on Danny. She had seen him leave out of the window before, and so she, tried to do what he did and twisted or sprained her ankle. So then, Molly comes and Molly is like upset. And especially once they realize Willow and Drew are there, because you know that Drew had the restraining order on Danny. And although Willow ignores it, this restraining order is still in place. So, it can be invoked at any time. So everyone is worried that Willow will try and invoke the restraining order, but she had a talk with Scout, and she made sure Scout I hate giving Willow any credit, but she made sure Scout feels safe when she's with her grandmother and all of that. And so, you know, whatever. Meanwhile, Felicia has stated that she is going to make sure that he gets like some communication specialist so that he can start saying more than yes or no. And Willow is shaking in her boots because, yeah. Meanwhile, Molly, sorry, not Molly, Cullum, he asked Lulu and Ethan to come to the hospital, excuse me, come to Windermere, because basically he wants to find out about um Rocco. And then he kind of wants to let her know that he's on to, the fact that Rocco has something to do with whatever is going on, and that he knows he's on the run. And so she leaves and she goes to tell Dante, who is appreciative that she's keeping him in the loop. Then Ethan leaves and he goes to the hospital, and he flashes back to last week when he went into the evidence room and he stole something, which obviously was a vial with some DNA. He takes the DNA and switches it out with the DNA he took. So is he not the baby's father? I don't know what he's doing or why, but this is crazy. And he is. Meanwhile, Valentine and Carly, they're still living in the afterglow. And they're talking about, why can't there be another way? And he's like, there is just no other way. And so, Carly is sad because she's about to lose her boo. And, there's nothing that they can do. She said, you're doing all of this to save my daughter. Well, I'm going to make sure you see your daughter one last time. So she goes and gets Charlotte and brings Charlotte over. And he tells Charlotte, she thinks that they're leaving. And he was like, no, we're not leaving. I'm turning myself in. It's the only way. Cullum is dangerous. And this is the best way to protect everybody. And, they say their goodbyes. And I just knew that Cullum was not going to get there in time, and I'm glad that he didn't, because Cullum does come to Carly's house because, as we know, yesterday he knows that the call to Anna's doctor came from somewhere near Carly's house. So he goes and he has a warrant and he's searching Carly's house for Valentine, and her and Charlotte are in there making cookies. It's so funny. And so they go and they look for Valentine or any signs of Valentine, and they don't find anything. Of course, I knew that they wouldn't. And so then Cullum leaves, and Charlotte's looking at Carly, and she was like, "Is that it?" And she was like, "I wish." And then speaking of Scout, we had a temporary fill-in for Scout. I don't know if everybody knows, but there is actually a new Scout. They're aging her up. That was not her. She wasn't able to start for that episode, but I think the next time we see Scout, we'll see the new Scout. But yeah, that was General Hospital for today. I'll see you tomorrow. Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, June 18th, 2026. So we start this episode with Lucas and Liz at the hospital, and Liz is talking to Lucas because she's like, why didn't you tell me about this situation, and why would you get involved in such a dangerous situation, talking about the sting operation that Lucas, Sonny, and Laura did. And, he's like, oh, it was nothing. He's making light of the situation or whatever. And, um, they're just having conversation, basically, going through that. And while they're talking about that, Dante arrives. Y'all, Dante and Liz. But anyway, Dante arrives and, they start chatting with Dante. And, Lucas asks Dante, have, Sidwell surfaced or anything. And it's funny to me because when all of this was over, I think he was talking to Justine. She was like, do you need, you know, surveillance or a police escort or something? And he's like, no, I don't need that. But it's clear that he is worried about Sidwell, and rightfully so, because Sidwell is dangerous and he not gonna just go away. He is coming for all of y'all. And we'll talk about that. So anyway, so Laura and Sunny is coming to the Metro Court Gardens to meet with Rick, and Laura is there. She's meeting with Jordan. Yes, I have to take a breath whenever I say Jordan's name. She's there to meet with Jordan. So, he sits down and they're talking and, checking in on each other since the situation happens. Sonny makes an erroneous comment about, oh, Sidwell's going to get what's coming to him or something. And she's like, what does that mean? But as he says that, um, Jordan arrives. So he was like, no, Rick arrives. And so he was like, Rick's clock is running. I got to go. But we'll talk about this later. And she said, yes, yes, immediately. Like, because she want to know what he mean. But he ain't going to tell her what he mean. So he goes over there to talk to Rick. She's talking to Jordan, and she was like, you risked everything. Girl, the lady ain't risked nothing. All she went and stacked her Monopoly money, and now she gonna sit off and do nothing. Because Laura was like, oh, I'm not getting my deputy mayor back. Because Ezra comes up and he's talking, and he was like, you gonna come get your job. And when he leaves, because Jacinda texts him, this is crazy. When he leaves because Jacinda texted him, he's like, oh, you gonna get your job back. And so Laura asked her, I'm not getting my deputy mayor back, am I? And she's like, basically like, yeah, no, I don't know what's next for me. I learned new skills while working with Sidwell. I took the exorbitant salary that he paid me and I invested it well. I can't. I'm sick to my stomach. Like, she makes me sick to my stomach. But anyway, so meanwhile, Sonny is over there talking to Rick, and he's talking to Rick, and Rick is feeling the kind of way because Sonny didn't tell him about the sting that Laura, and um, Lucas had planned. And so he was like, look, Lucas don't jive with you. So, of course I didn't tell you, but you got to trust me when I don't tell you something. You got to trust me when I say no, whatever the case may be. And so he was like, you right. He was like, I just don't know how we get past the trust or whatever. So Sonny tells him that he knows who killed Marco and he's going to use that information to lure Sidwell out, and that he is going to kill Sidwell. Yeah. And he's like, how's that for trust, Rick? I think that was a mistake, Sonny. Only because Liz is looking at Dante and Dante is looking at Liz, and then your brother gonna feel a kind of way and he gonna feel a kind of way, and I feel like he gonna sabotage everything, including his relationship with Sonny. Because if he can't trust Liz, who can he trust? I ain't never told him he could trust Liz because Liz be running around lying and sneaking and doing stuff all the time, but she just don't ever get caught. But I'm mad at her. You know, she good at what she do. I just wish that some other people could get away with the things that Liz do. But anyway, then we have, like I said, Jacinda, Nina, and Nathan. Jacinda was first at Nina's apartment, you know, getting orders from her. Then she goes to the Metro Court, well, to go to Crimson to get, you know, the things that Nina sent her after. And that's when she runs into Ezra at the Metro Court Gardens. However, come to find out, Sidwell had Jacinda's phone cloned, and so he sent a text from Jacinda saying that he wanted to see what's that man name? What is that man name? See Ezra at the Metro Court. And so he's excited. He leaves Laura and Jordan to go see Jacinda. Jacinda ain't checking for you. She all up in wrapped up in Michael right now. She not thinking about you. But I digress. This is me digressing. So he goes and he gets in the shower and he's pouring some champagne, and you know Jacinda arrives, but it's not Jacinda, it's Sidwell. And Sidwell is there because he wants Ezra to help him get his revenge because he's got a vendetta out against Sunny, Laura, Lucas, and Cullum, actually. And so he wants Ezra's help to exact his revenge. Meanwhile, Rocco and Britt, they're somewhere near Puerto Rico because Brick followed them to Puerto Rico, but then they got on the boat and they went somewhere, and he doesn't quite know yet where they went, but he does know that they, you know, took a flight to Puerto Rico. Anyway, so you know, they're there and they're getting acclimated to their new life. But Rocco kind of misses home, and she shows him that, you know, I got a tablet with a VPN so we can't be traced, and I got a burner phone, and, you know, whatever. And so they start looking at, you know, articles of things that happen in Port Charles, and they notice that Sidwell shot Lucas. And so they're like, oh, it's good that we're away from here. Britt's hands start shaking. So Britt's hands shaking. Meanwhile, Dante and Lucas and Fitzpatrick are at the hospital and they're talking, and they traced the contents of the residue on the syringe, and it was just saline. I don't think that Britt has Huntington's. I think that was a ploy to get her to leave, which we know when she got hooked. Well, she did get hooked. When she got hooked, she was leaving town that night. Actually, she was at the pier waiting for the boat so that she could leave town and go die of Huntington's on her own. So yeah. So anyway, Danny and Charlotte are at the boathouse because again, we're going to be there all summer. They're at the boathouse. She's destroying her old passports. She tells Danny how, you know, her dad left and he turning himself into the WSB. And then she comes up with the idea that she's tired of listening and that she's going to bring down Cullum herself. But then she gets a call and it's from Rocco. Whew. because Britt passed out. But yeah, that was General Hospital for today. I'll be back to wrap up the week. Hey guys, let's talk General Hospital for today, June 19th, 2026. So we start this episode on my favorite topic on GH, Portia. The bald menace is knocking on her door, right? And she like rolling her eyes when she answers the door. And she's like, come in. And so he looking around. He did it when he was leaving and he did it when he arrived. He's looking around and he's like, oh, you changed things around. She said, yeah, I thought I'd make the place my own or whatever she said. I'm sorry. The petty in me is hilarious because he was like, what happened to my favorite chair? She was like, well, you ain't take it with you. So I thought you ain't want it. And I gave it away to charity. Portia is my kind of petty. And she don't even really be trying to be petty, but she can't help it. I love her so much. Today, the Portia that we saw today is the reason why she's my favorite character because Portia don't be caring. Big Mama. Anyway, I'm gonna stop. So he comes over, and this is post the baby shower when she told him not to contact her because she doesn't want anything to do with him. He can't follow directions. I know he got bad marks on his report card growing up because following directions aren't his thing, isn't his thing, because he show is over there after she done told you don't contact me. I don't want to have anything to do with you. But I guess cooler heads are prevailing today, which they can often do with Curtis and Portia. I will say they can often have cooler heads prevail even when they're beefing and have a conversation where they can come to a solution. It is when you add other people and other factors where things really derail them. But if it's just the two of them, they can actually get along. They could probably co-parent pretty well, but then again, Curtis is a butthole, so there's that. But anyway, so they're talking and they come to the determination that they're going to stop trying to mend the families together, and that when they do have to be around each other, then there's no significant others. It's just that easy. You keep your woman over there, and Portia can keep Isaiah over here, which I don't think she ever had a problem with. But you, the thing is about you, Curtis. You want to think you gonna have your cake, and who said yesterday, Danny, your cake and your little cupcake too? No, we're not doing that. So I'll keep Isaiah away, but you gonna keep that woman away from me too, and I like that. She clearly stated her boundaries, and they agreed to it. And I like that. Meanwhile, Trina is at the gallery and she's talking to Ava and she's giving Ava the rundown on what happened at the baby shower. Ava was like, yeah, I had a good time. I won 2 games. Ava is like, it was so nice. All your hard work paid off. And then Trina's like, yeah, it went to hell in the handbasket after you left. And she's telling her what happened and she is not going to deal with her parents because she made her parents' problems her issue. Trina, this was a you problem. I'm not even going to blame your mom and your dad about that. That was you. You took on those problems. They did. I won't even say that they really, well, give me a second. But yeah, Trina took that on her own because she was trying to make the family still be a family instead of accepting that her parents are not together. They're not going to be together, and it is what it is. She was the one pressing it and trying to make it work and trying to her and Stella try because even Stella trying to, yeah, we gonna be one big happy blended family. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work, especially when Curtis still want Portia. It's not gonna work. There's no way that Curtis can still want Portia, still be with Jordan, and see Portia with Isaiah and be peaceful. It's just not something that he's capable of doing. He's childish. So, that wasn't never going to work. And when you start forcing it, then you get the situation where it is now. But to act like it's all on your parents is crazy. But Ava was like, okay, well, you do have to live your own life, and that is respectable. I was in that situation too with Kiki. Well, maybe don't just up and like disappear from your parents' life. Tell them what you need. But see, the thing is, I don't like Trina's tone. So she goes over there to her parents' house, and her dad is there, and she was like, they're trying to tell him that they worked it out. And she's like, I don't need to know. And then I saw for the clip on Monday, she was like, I need y'all to work, have a little less attention from y'all or whatever. See, it's a way. Ava wasn't sending you over there to be confrontational with your parents. Go set your boundaries and say that you don't want to, you're going to live your life, whatever the case may be, but you don't have to be nasty about it. And that's the thing with Trina. Her tone and her delivery is crazy. And your smoke should be with your daddy, not with your mama, because your mama didn't start that fight. But I digress. I digress. I digress. Anyway, so then we got Jack and Carly. So Carly goes in there and tells Jack basically everything that's going on and how Valentine has gone to New Zealand. He went to New Zealand, wherever Z is. He went there. No, he went to Geneva. What am I talking about? New Zealand. Who else went into? Anyway, so she's telling him that he's gone to Geneva to go tell Z, and how she knows that Jocelyn is at Windermere because she found Jocelyn's ring, and she's like, Z need to hurry up and move, and things are getting sticky and the walls are closing in. Then we have Nathan and Felicia. They were talking, and then when we have Rocco and Danny, they got the call from, excuse me, Danny and Charlotte got the call from Rocco, and he needed them to get a message to Nathan so Nathan can try to get the medicine for Britt. So they go over to Nina's house and gives the information to Nathan, and then Nathan goes over to Lulu's house, which Lulu and Dante is there. Brick had got a lead on where Rocco was, and they were trying to figure out what their next step is going to be. And then comes Nathan with the information for where Rocco is. So he provides them with the information, and now we have to see what the next steps are going to be, which is going to be Lulu and Dante going after Rocco and Britt. And Lulu has already threatened Britt. So yeah, it's getting real dicey. I'm excited. I don't know if you all have read in the Soap Opera Digest the summer spoilers. It's gonna get real dicey in the next couple of weeks. A lot of stuff is gonna transpire in the next couple of weeks. We're gonna start to see. So I'm excited. I'm ready for Portia to give birth because Portia has been pregnant for darn near a year now. I'm ready for my nephew to come. Come on now. But yeah, I enjoyed today's episode because I really enjoyed that Portia has. Oh, yeah, because Baldy was like, do you take back what you said? And she was like, nah, at the moment, it's still staying. I love Portia. Give him the business all the time. Don't ever stop. Keep your foot on his neck because that's what he deserves. That's what he needs. But I also like I said, when it's just the two of them, they can have a conversation. They can come to an agreement. How long that agreement gonna last? I don't know. I'm pretty sure Curtis will do something to mess it up. However, They can talk. It's just that they have that ability. It's not hard for them. But yeah, I'll see y'all next week. Have a safe weekend and